Welcome back to Deano's Garage, and today we're going to be talking about flipping. Now, I'm not talking about this.
A triple spin. Woo! Ah, yeah.
Or this. What I am talking about is flipping as in buying something that you don't have the intention of actually keeping or riding, but flipping it on and making some money in between. And that is why I bought this machine that I was delivered last night. So we're going to have a look at this bike today. It's not a bike that we've had here at Deano's Garage before. There is some work to be done today, as always. I do like a challenge, so let's wheel it out and take a look at what we got. And here we are, the CBR600F. This is the early 2000 model with the fully revised frame, all aluminium. Is about 108 brake horsepower and weighs less than 200 kilograms. Let's have a look around the bike now and see what we've got to do today. So what we'll do first is get this camera off of the tripod, and we'll get up close and have a really good look and basically see what we got to do. So first impressions, there are no dents, knocks, cracks or damages to any panels, but mostly there's a lot of dirt and grime, as you can see here. Actually was on a farm, so the guy kept it in an outbuilding in a farm. Bike's only done 14,000 odd miles, just over 14,000 miles. He did spray it and keep it all covered in WD-40. Definitely a lot of lubricant on there. You can see it's literally a whole lot covered in that white sort of chain lube stuff all over it. Just really filthy dirty. But at the moment I can't see much wrong. We've got one of the little caps missing from there, but that's not the end of the world. Remember, this bike is now 22 years old, so the shock from this angle looks pretty sort of rancid and horrible, but actually it's been sprayed and covered and kept in pretty good condition. So we'll see what that looks like once we get in and start cleaning. There's a lot of grime down in that side there on that swing arm, and in here it's been sprayed with WD-40, which is great for protection, but of course all the dirt and dust then clings to that WD-40. Standard pipe, which is good to see. Little tiny dent in there, but not the end of the world. Yeah, so a nice standard pipe. It's always nice to see a standard bike that's not been messed about with. And I think, being an early 2000 model, they did have some pretty interesting colour schemes. CBR, Honda, and with this being in black with that red CBR, it's fairly timeless. We'll have a look at it from a distance on this side in a second. So yeah, standard screen. We do have, I noticed, a scuff to this mirror here, and we do have a replacement white indicator. I've ordered another one of these to replace this, so hopefully that'll sort that problem out, because I can't really have that and that. So we'll swap that over. Those forks look usual Honda horrendous. You can see the paint's already fading away from there, which they always seem to do. Seems to be a Honda thing, that. Any CBR600 that I've ever owned always have the lower legs and the paint fading off. But we'll sort that out. We'll get this mud guard off of here and give those forks a really good clean and sort out. Tyres look good on this. One of the first things I want to do with any bike really is get the seat off and see what's underneath that seat, see whether we have a toolkit in the back, and really you can't clean the bike properly until you get the seat off, because there's all sorts of grime and stuff built up underneath here. So let's get the seat off now. On the Honda, the key's there, simply turn and it will release, or at least it should do. There we go. And so that's the seat off, and straight away we can see we got the full aluminium subframe here, no rusty steel parts for this bike, batteries in there fine, and we have the good old Honda proper toolkit in place. So always good to see when a bike's got pretty low mileage that actually everything that should be here is here. Plenty of storage space, as you can see, if you need to put things in here under the seat. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that was there. And again, as you can see, we now can clean all through this area here properly, because we've got a lot of grime and stuff built up here. So one of the things we need to do is remove these shrouds here, basically to clean this properly, to get to the frame, to be able to clean that aluminium frame. It looks like these need to come off with 1, 2 and possibly 3 fixings there. So we're going to take both off each side, and then we can really get in and clean this properly. So let's get these off now. Yeah, there's a lug, so that fairing part there pushes on to this. Almost need to be taking this off first to be able to then remove this. Which is a bit odd, isn't it? Removing the whole fairing just to remove this. Basically it's got a rubber grommet behind here, and this fairing clicks into there. So it's off, but you have got to be careful that you don't damage the fairing when doing it. So it's paid to loosen off some of the fixings, just so you've got a bit of space to pull that back. Won't want to be cracking and damaging this now. But undoing that one definitely gave me that flex there to do that, but it would pay to undo that one as well as. And now you can see what I mean by exposing the tank and really looking at what you need to clean, because these are the air intake snorkels, and you can see more of the frame. There's a lot of grime and the dirt built up here. No rust, I'm glad to see. No rust underneath this, underneath the tank, where sometimes things never get cleaned properly, so rust can build up and then you can end up having a rusty petrol tank, but not with this bike. So yeah, I've just exposed it enough to really get in and clean all this, and then we can put it back on later. Let's do the other side. And you can see this side, now I've removed that cover from this side, just how dusty and grimy and not so pleasant it is this side too. Unsure really if you're picking up just how dirty this bike is, but as we go through you can really see it's all in the frame. Just that bolt head there's pretty rusty. So yeah, we got a lot of cleaning to do, especially down in here. Don't know if you can see that in this light, but the back of the gearbox there and it down into all the linkage area there, really a lot of dirt and grime, and up underneath here really needs a good spray. We want this bike looking like a 14,000 mile CBR600, all original. That's what we want it to look like by the time we finish today. So, as always, let's get cracking. So, let's get started on the cleaning. So that's it now, with sponges and brushes getting into awkward places. Now let's get pressure washing in and around that sort of rear swing arm area. So, welcome back. As you can see, I've pretty much finished washing and polishing the bike now. Looks really nice. We'll have a look at it a bit more up close, but yeah, I'm really impressed actually with how the bike is pretty much damage free, and also as much as I needed to clean it and really get a lot of grime off, a lot of that was actually protecting it. The guy I got it from actually sprayed it a lot with WD-40, so all the dirt clung to that WD-40, but obviously protected it, and there is pretty much zero corrosion on this bike. So let's have a look up close. So remembering that this is now a 22-year-old bike, the only real corrosion is that typical Honda lower fork leg here and through down here paint. Yeah, just one of those Honda things that they never seem to be able to change, and always is with every single CBR 600 and probably even other CBRs and Hondas that I've ever seen. The original pipes, so the original down pipes there, are a little bit rusty to the surface, but you know, they're not rotten, they're just rusty on the surface. So if I was really fussy, I could get in there, take that belly off and then spray those with some satin VHT paint like I have done before, but I'm not going to bother. They're pretty much in there, you can't really see them, people don't go looking in there at those sort of things anyway. So yeah, like I say, there is a little bit of signs of damage. So we got an indicator here which needs to be replaced, as I said, and a mirror here, which either this is the original, and as you can see it fits on, you've got to bolt down this one, or this is the original and it fits slightly different, so I'm not sure which one's which. I would guess, I suppose, that this isn't the original and this got damaged originally and was replaced along with the indicator. But other than that, there are no cracked panels, no dents in the petrol tank, and as you can see, like I say, things have come up really well. You know, I've spent a lot of time cleaning all of this, but this was all covered in sort of WD-40 and grime, but it's really clean in there now, looks really good. The shock itself is rust free, the spring's really good, it's just the sort of dog bones here and this bolt here which is a little bit corroded because these are steel, but the actual spring is really good looking and not corroded in any way. The swing arm looks really good. I probably will take the sticker off just because this part's peeling off now. Probably get a hairdryer on this, warm it up and remove this. Right, so the bike's been cleaned and polished, but one of the things I want to do is remove this sticker off of here. So I'm going to get the hairdryer out, warm up the sticker, and it should be nice and easy to peel off. Not going to be easy, this one. It's been on here for 22 years, so as always, it's the starting that's difficult. Wants to break off. It's a brittle type sticker, not one you can sort of begin to get your nail under and get it to start peeling, which is great if you can, because then you can get the hairdryer to sort of work that adhesive and soften it up. There we go. Now I've got a purchase on it. There we go. Clean that up with a bit of WD-40 and it will look beautiful. The WD-40 is beginning to break down the glue residue, but it's not as good as my other stuff. That stuff. There we go, a swing arm that looks almost as good as new. Now this bike is beginning to look fantastic again, and obviously the whole point of this was to make the bike look as brilliant as we can, to then flip on and make some margin in between. One of the things letting this bike down are the good old front forks, lower legs of the Honda. Fairly typical of a late 90s, early 2000 bike is the paint's very thin on these lower legs, and the weather basically eats into the paint, and they always end up getting this sort of pitted, sort of horrible look to them. So what I'm going to do actually is just clean this up. Now what I could do is remove the front mudguard and mask up, and then just gently spray over with some nice silver paint. But actually I tried to remove that bolt yesterday, even tried to do it with an impact driver, that will not undo. Sprayed in behind twice, still will not undo, and it's now got to the point where that Allen key head is likely to just round off. So I'm not going to try and remove that front fender now. I'm just going to clean up these front lower legs as best as I can, so it looks original and as best as I can, just in preparation, like I say, for selling on. So let's get cleaning on this, just to make it look that much better. One of the things we need to sort out to get this bike back to original is get rid of this indicator. Not that it's a bad indicator, it's just that it's got this clear lens and it's not in keeping with the rest of the bike, which is all original. So this has got to go. So let's get rid of this now. Now on this CBR there's a couple of ways you can tackle really the indicator changing issue. Down inside here, maybe you can just about see, but you've basically got a bit of gap there, and then you've got the cable running for the indicator, but you can't really, get your hands down there to undo anything. Now you could undo these bolts, and you could remove this fairing piece here, and then you'd have access obviously from this point onwards to see that and have clearance to get your hands in there. The other way is come around here, and we have like the inner skin of the fairing, which has got a connector just there. It's one of those type that you push in the center and it's like an expanding plug and they just come out. And there should be another one in here, but it's actually missing. And then you've got some screws down here where you would unscrew this, and these are rusty, so no doubt these are going to be really tricky, but you basically then can flex this out of the way. So I'm going to try and undo this one. That one's already gone, and see if I can flex this over enough to gain access to the back of this indicator to undo the bolt to actually try and remove it. So let's see if I can do that now. So if we now have a look, we should see this part here is flapping about a bit more because it hasn't got connectors holding it in position. So I should, this is quite flexible, be able to move that out of the way and leave those screws retained in the bottom. So let me just show you from this other angle so we can see the back of the indicator and you'll know what I mean. So you should be able to see the back of the indicator there. That's the indicator cable. So first things first, undo the bolt that should be on the back of there, then we should be able to take this indicator off, but we have to cut this wire as well as. So just like I thought, you can see I've removed this tape. You got the wiring coming in from the indicator here, and then you got the wiring coming in green and orange from the actual proper CBR wiring loom, and instead of putting proper connectors on, it looks like they've basically hardwired these together, because this should pull apart on a connector, not pull apart out of the wiring like that. So that shouldn't really happen, and that was pretty easy for me to pull apart. So we're going to have to get these off and put proper connectors on so we can connect the proper indicator onto this. Right, I should be able to get my fingers onto that nut. I don't really want to drop it, but so there goes our nut. Off comes the indicator. So that's our indicator off, and as you can see, we have a metal plate. That's the plate that basically this sits onto. So your cable goes through this plate. This cable goes through this plate hole here, and that's your bolt hole there, and the nut sits on the back of that and holds this between your fairing and the inner part of the fairing, like so. That's it. That's our indicator off. So this is our replacement indicator. You might notice I'm wearing a head torch. The reason I was wearing a head torch is because it was a lot easier to see in the back of there, even though we're in daylight, in the back of that what am I doing wearing this head torch. So this is our replacement indicator. All 17 pounds of it, straight off of eBay. So that will sit in there like so. We have our proper connectors on the end of this, so that will get fed through there and through that metal plate, of course. And then that will sit like that, and that will get bolted in tight to there. So what I have done is put the indicator through. I've put the metal plate on the back here, got the M10 bolt done up nice and tight, the indicator's on really nice and tight through there. I've not over tightened that nut and then risk cracking anything, but it is nice and tight and good. Now we got our cable. Basically we got a positive and negative on this cable, and it needs to be connected up to the positive and negative. On this, I need to snip off these wires here and put on the female versions of these bullet ends onto here. Once I've done that, I can connect these two up instead of sort of hard wiring. I mean, I could just snip these off and wire them up and put some tape round, but that's not the best practice and the best way to go about doing this job. We'll see if I've got some female versions of these and do the job properly. So let's test it now and see whether this is all good. There we go, all seems to be fine. Nothing wrong with our connection. Like I say, it's not loose, it's nice and tight there. So that's good. We just need to do something about tucking this excess cable inside. Put that piece of plastic back in place. And that's it, we're all good. New indicator on, all sorted. And so there we are, that's the bike finished as best as I possibly can. And remember, all I've done is just clean and polish and just use quite a few hours and quite a lot of elbow grease. And I think really I've got this CBR600F looking as best as it possibly can. So all done, all finished. As always, thanks for watching Deano's Garage, and stay tuned because there will be other bikes along the way.